Welcome to Freedom and Glory, Tales of American Spirit, where every flag tells a story, and so does every person who raises one. Join Liz Morris and Bill Lumet for conversations with people making a difference in their communities, reminding us that even the smallest actions can spark lasting change.
My guest today is Anna Brakefield. She and her dad, Mark Yeager, run Redland Cotton out of Moulton, Alabama. They make sheets, quilts, and blankets from cotton grown on the family farm that is woven, sewn, and finished here in the U.S. Anna grew up on that farm. She went to Auburn, then New York to work in advertising, and then to Nashville. And around 2015, her dad called her with an idea. He'd been farming cotton for over 30 years, watching it sell cheap and come back to America as expensive products made overseas. He was tired of it. He wanted to make something himself from his cotton, and he wanted Anna's help. So their first sheets shipped in 2016. And Anna, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, for listeners, for people just learning about Redland Cotton, can you tell us about what you make and where it comes from?
Yeah. So the cotton comes from our farm. My dad has been farming since the early 80s, and my brothers farm with him now too. So we source the best cotton that our farm can produce, and we put it into sheets, towels, quilts, blankets, some apparel. And our family sees the process all the way through from literally the cotton field to the final cut and sew step. Our company owns two different cut and sew facilities. We have one in Moulton, Alabama, where our headquarters is, and then we have another one in Tylertown, Mississippi. So literally from our farm to the customer's home, we're able to provide an American-made product that's seen all the way through.
That's awesome. And you said your dad started farming in the 80s. And so, over 30, 35 years of farming before he ever thought about making sheets. What led to that decision?
I think it's the same decision-making process that led him to build his own cotton gin in 1993. The desire to have more control over the process and therefore be able to really maximize your total profit out of a raw material that you're growing. I think the idea was fairly simple, but as we got into it and got into the whole manufacturing process, we realized just how difficult and somewhat broken the system is. I think most entrepreneurs think they have a great idea and then they get into it and realize there's a reason why other people aren't doing it, But yeah, I think being vertically integrated is very important for him. Being diversified is very important. So I think those were the key factors in why he was wanting to have his own retail product to sell.
It also sounds like you have a pretty tight family. Everybody's working together.
For better or for worse.
Yeah, well, no, that's fun. I enjoy our family doing that too. But you were in New York. I
know.
That's usually the top of the heap. So what was it for you? Was it joining Dad and the family? What motivated you to do something that I'm sure, you had some knowledge of, but you were in advertising. Big
Exactly.
Jump,
it was really a full circle process because I had zero intentions of coming back to the family farm. Like you said, I went to Auburn. I studied design there, and I did not come back home. right out of college, moved to New York, worked in advertising there, that I had met at Auburn, who the guy that would be my husband. And when we got engaged, he was going to do his residency in the Nashville area. And so we relocated to Nashville. And I was just really unhappy with the work that I was doing there. It wasn't the quality of work that I was doing in New York. I wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't satisfied with what I was doing there. And I think my dad kind of saw that dissatisfaction and desire to do something more and kind of capitalized on it a little bit. But it is truly a family business. My sister-in-law works with us. I think the only family members that aren't involved are one of my other sister-in-laws and my husband. So it is a family business.
Oh, yeah, he was waiting to strike.
Yes, I think so. He wanted me to go into agriculture, and I just was not. That was not me. I took one animal husbandry class at Auburn, and that was the worst score that I got in any class at Auburn. So this would have been the only way to get me back.
Yeah. No, I think you have to find your own way, and something that sounds like, you're passionate about. I'm sure you have used a lot of those marketing skills for sure.
Oh, yeah. And saved us a lot of money in the process by not having to hire that out. Probably saved more money than he even realizes. But
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely have been able to take all the skills that I gathered in the early years and apply it here.
Well, tell me a little bit about, I think you got some inspiration from sheets that someone inherited from Madeline Gray.
Yes. So the story there, when we're decided we're going to create this direct to consumer company. It's going to be cotton from our farm. What are we going to make? My dad's sister, who lives in Dallas, commented on one of his Instagram posts that he had made of the gin creating a bale of cotton. And she commented and said, I would love to have some sheets made out of that good North Alabama cotton. And he kind of took that and ran with it, and also had the idea in the back of his head, like, bedding is very wide, it's very big, surely that would consume a lot of cotton. And turns out it's one of the more difficult things to make here in the United States, especially when you compare it to something like a piece of apparel or something like that. It's definitely more challenging to process the wider goods here. But when we landed on bed sheets, okay, that's what we're going to make. We visited Cotton Incorporated. They told us that the cotton qualities that we were growing would be fine and good to put into a bedding product. Then we decide, okay, what is it going to look like? How's it going to feel? And my dad started talking about his grandmother's sheets, how they would come off the line crunchy, and kind of break them in, and this whole nostalgic feeling. And from a marketing perspective, in my brain, I was like, that sounds unique. That sounds different. That sounds like an area that I don't see being talked about. It sounds like a niche that we could fall into, not only being American made, but also this heirloom nostalgic feeling. So I really liked that. But then it became like, where are we going to find these sheets to replicate? My parents were talking about it in their Sunday school class, and one of their friends had a hope chest of all of their great-grandmother's passed down linens that were hand embroidered and had this hand tatted lace, just really beautiful stuff. And they let us take a flat sheet. There were no fitted sheets in the 1920s. And they let us take it and take little swatches of it. And we worked with Hamrick Mills and Cotton Incorporated to identify yarn size and weave construction very similar to Madeline Gray's sheets. She was the original owner of these heirloom sheets that we modeled ours after. And that's what we made. That was our first 2 lines of bed sheets that we launched in October of 2016. We offered a white color and a natural color, and we had one that had this decorative hem stitching across the hem, and we had one that had cotton lace on it. And those were the 2 styles that we launched into the world, and they were all inspired by Madeline Gray's sheets.
You mentioned earlier too. Can you walk us through the challenges you had? I mean, you're taking a traditional sheet, making it modern. You have a modern consumer base. I mean, how receptive were they to that? And then from growing cotton to manufacturing sheets, how big a deal was that? And you're a family, so I'm guessing everybody had an opinion. So tell me more.
Yes, everybody did have an opinion, but I think we were, and at that point, the concept was still simple, and we were all fairly unified on the actual product that we were making. I do think the real hurdle, and it's funny now being 10 years separated from the beginning of it, how it all sort of came into place when we've hit manufacturing challenges throughout the years. It's like, oh my goodness, like what a blessing it was that it all came together when it did, because sometimes it is so challenging. But we hired a textile consultant. Jack Miller, he used to work at Alice. They made bed sheets, and when my dad was calling around, he probably called every textile mill in the Southeast, and they connected him with Jack Miller, and he helped us put our supply chain together. He knew people at Parkdale. He knew Hamrick Mills, knew Brewster Yates, who did our finishing for years and years, and just got us connected to build the supply chain. But, you know, I think that some of the hardest parts when you start a business is finding the proof of concept, finding the product market fit. And for us, it really did come together beautifully. I started selling sheets on the website that I created off of a drawing that I did. I didn't even wait for product photography. Like, as the product was getting made, I was blogging about it. I was taking videos of it, sharing it on social media, and people could buy the product even off of a charcoal sketch that I did while it was all coming together. So when we got our first shipment of sheets, I had probably 100 orders to pack out at the time of delivery of our first set of sheets. And so I wasted no time in trying to get out there and start growing an audience. And one thing that we did in those first couple of months, we went to a show. It was a holiday market in Franklin, Tennessee called Made South. And we sold out of all the sheets that we brought with us to that holiday market the first night. And we had to meet a friend halfway between Moulton and Franklin, Tennessee to get another pallet of sheets so we could continue the show the next day. And I think that gave us a lot of confidence in the product, in what we were doing, in the the public reception of it. And in those first couple of months, being able to, like, even though we're a direct-to-consumer company online, but being able to interface with people who are touching and feeling the sheets and talking to them about it and what resonates with them. That was a great launching point to continue to talk to customers and acquire customers based off of things that we knew worked for them. So really, again, looking back on it, there was a lot of hard work that went into it, but there was a lot of God's guidance on it because it all somewhat kind of fell into place that first year.
Were you surprised?
No, I don't think so. I guess like the first night when I sold out of the product that I had brought to the show, I was surprised because I had not planned to sell that much. But I think I had a lot of confidence in my ability to do it right and well. And like, I know how hard I work at it. So I think some of it, whenever I see success, is just validation in the hard work.
A school, a fire station, a business that's been on Main Street for 40 years. When a community wants to be seen, a flag can say it. We make custom flags and banners, American made, built to last. If you've got something worth flying, let's talk. freedomandglory.com/custom.
There's a lot of power in confidence. And I mean, it just feels like you really brought your skills to the company. And I think to your point, you all have something unique. And I don't know. That's really neat.
I am curious too. It sounds like you did a lot of social media, and you're in advertising. I don't know how long you were in advertising in New York.
Right, yeah.
It's changed a lot, hasn't it? I mean, the
It
power of
has.
social media versus, the traditional media. And I'm wondering how big a role that played for the success of the brand. And the other question I had was, it seems like you didn't compromise anywhere in regards to the material, the quality. It's all American made. I mean, you could have sent it overseas, probably, and got a bigger profit. How come? Why didn't you do that?
The reason why we think American made is so essential and part of the story is because of the plight of the American farmer. The American farmer is constantly being squeezed because, and I'm specifically referring to cotton farmers, because the fiber that they grow has to compete with Chinese and Pakistani and Egyptian cottons that are all milled where they're grown, in Indian cotton. And there's no way that the American farmer, with the input costs that they have, can compete with Indian, Chinese, and Pakistani cotton and sell it into those same markets. I mean, that's where all of the cotton is milled and produced and made into a product. So if the American farmer doesn't have a home for their cotton here in America, in textile mills here, it is a losing battle for them. And you see it, gyms close all over the South every single year. Farms sell out. And there's no, it is a losing game. The market is completely rigged. And it feels like there's no priority being put. I think this current administration has done a little bit, and there's been some more recent efforts to try to prioritize specifically cotton, specifically in American mills. But I think that the textile industry here in the United States and the cotton farming industry are very interconnected. And while, yes, American cotton is sold on the commodities market every day, the price for it is what, in my opinion, is the problem. The input costs are too high and the price per pound is too low. And unless we have an American textile industry to consume it and then an American base to buy it, there will be no incentive for an American cotton farmer to continue. So that is the why behind that. And I think it's so very important, because we have to be able to clothe ourselves. We cannot rely on strictly foreign resources to do such a basic task. But that is the primary reason why the American-made angle was so crucial to us. And the challenges that we have had in the supply chain, it's been the hardest part of this business. You started the question talking about social media a bit, and when I started in advertising, social media was like part of something that people did, but it wasn't at that time, a real growth engine. But as Redland Cotton was kind of coming up, it started to shift that way. So the shift from more polished and well presented content from a brand that you would take seriously shifted to more raw, not so polished, inside story, behind the scenes kind of content that didn't feel produced became more mainstream and what people expected. And I think that lends itself to any small brand, just feels so much more authentic than anything big. So I think that was a true advantage.
Yeah. I mean, I want to go back to something you said about, I agree, this administration is, trying to support domestic manufacturing. And I think it's like trying to turn the Titanic.
Yes.
Especially for things that have for so long, like it sounds like with cotton, we import what we need from other countries, and that has allowed us to drive the price down. I mean, you mentioned issues with supply chain, and I know last year your finishing partner in South Carolina closed. Can you talk a little bit about some of the challenges and how you've navigated around that to keep your products made in America?
Absolutely. I think we counted it the other day. Mills that we have worked with over the course of 10 years, I think we've seen 12 close. And some were maybe not so crucial of a partner, and some very much were. And 2 or 3 years ago, Yates Bleachery closed, and they were doing all of our white and natural fabrics. We moved all of our finishing production to Santee Printworks in Sumter, South Carolina. And then last fall, they let us know that they were closing. And I guess it has been a huge learning moment for me in being more diversified in my supply chain for something that is so critical, to have more than one partner doing the work. But it's hard when you are smaller and these plants are built for big volume. It's hard to divide that work and be diversified, because if you're still small, there's just not enough work to feed two plants. So it does make diversification challenging in that way. But it has taken us, so they let us know about the closure in October of last year. It has taken us a good 6 to 7 months to find a replacement. And I think that we're still trying to hone in on how we can replace some of the products that we were making with them. So specifically prints, Redland cotton, again, on that nostalgic piece of the brand, we were emphasizing prints. So, I had someone we work with consistently say, I think about Redland cotton and I think about the ticking stripe, the old school ticking print. And Santee was the last wide rotary screen printer in the United States. There is nobody else. And that's crazy. That's nuts. But, I think a great skill that I bring to the company outside of just the marketing is just in general being creative, and when you're met with a door, pivoting and finding another avenue to walk down, or if you're handed something that is less than ideal, how can you adjust and run with it? So we're currently trialing some digital options for keeping prints. We're working on solid colors to add some diversification. We're also working on some different engineering of more narrow panels of fabric that we can use in bedding to still keep the prints alive in our offerings. But it's been hard, and it's very frustrating to think about the growth that we could have had we not had such supply chain issues. And that growth would affect everybody up and down the supply chain. If I can grow, then my partners can grow too. But when one plant falls out, it has a domino effect that is very, very real. And I think that is the most frustrating part, is you can be doing everything right and something out of your control happens. But that happens. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody can sing that
Business.
song. Yeah.
But it is frustrating. And I think just trying to be as resilient, persistent, and it's hard to be creative when you're stressed, I think.
Yes.
So it
Yes.
sounds like you can also do that.
Well, and I've definitely, when we were talking initially, this year has been so hard because the focus has been so heavily on rebuilding the supply chain that was broken, that it has been hard to shift focus into more creative things. When you're so focused on survival that you can't dream ahead, I think that is very limiting. But I think we're finally able to dream again, which is very exciting, especially for me, because that's the part I love the most.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I think, you sit at such an interesting place, like growing the cotton and, selling it. And as you look ahead then for the for the cotton industry or for your business? Like, what do you hope the next 10, 20 years looks like?
I'm really hopeful that there can be some economic incentives to manufacture in the United States. Um, I I think that is one of the only ways that the industry as a whole can really bounce back. Um, but for us, I I only see the desire to purchase American made, um, to prioritize purchasing from companies that share your same values, that as a consumer you find yourself identifying with. I think that market share only stands to grow. Um, I think that there will always be people who are shopping for a deal, or um, who don't particularly care or don't have the resources to care, and that's very valid. Um, but I think if anybody has economic choice, they're looking to invest in companies that are doing things they align with. I know that myself, that's a way I shop too. So, and with social media and the way of the world, it just makes it all the more easy to find people that align with your values, and for you to share your values, um, which I think is great. It's the perfect opportunity to get out there and stand apart. So I hope that we're uniquely positioned for that. And again, the only hangup is ensuring that the supply chain is there for that growth.
Well, that seems to be a common problem in
Yeah.
America today. We don't build things anymore. We don't make things. And boy, if we could do that, your problem would be less stressful. Although you
Sure
have
would.
expanded. I've noticed you started off with that one pallet of sheets, and you're doing all kinds of things now. Where do we get this stuff? How do we buy this stuff?
Yeah. 24/7, 365 on redlandcotton.com. Um, we also have a mobile app. We are available on Amazon. Um, so we're not trying to fight against the beast. If there is a selling opportunity, we're going to be there. Um, but yeah, we're we're on a mission to make American made home textiles beautiful and available to the American customer. And um, any avenue that we can get out there to do that, we will. So, redlandcotton.com and a whole host of other places.
That's great. What There's just one more like future looking question. I mean, if someone listening, wants to kind of act on something to start a business or act on a small decision, what advice would you have for them?
I, as I was talking about, try to start selling immediately. Um, I would not spend a ton of time worrying about your logo or your go-to-market strategy or anything like that. A website is so easy to create. Images are easy to create too. And again, what people so value is following a story and following a behind-the-scenes process, and getting invested with somebody doing something real. So I think that has been and will continue to be my advice, is just to do it, and to do it relatively quickly. And when things don't work out, you'll pivot. And but I think it's better to do than to sit and contemplate. I think that that has been a winning strategy for us going on 10 years. So that would be my advice.
Yeah. Yeah. My dad always said, shoot, ready, aim.
Yeah. And I know it sounds so chaotic and it sounds like unadvisable.
Well, but you kind of see what works.
Yeah.
That's what you spend time in.
Yes. Reality and experience is the best teacher. And sometimes you just have to do.
Sounds like going into business with family for both of you, it worked out pretty well.
Yeah. From time to
Yes.
time.
Christmases are still good. Everybody's still talking.
Everybody still talks to each other, whether it's at a higher volume or not, it depends, but everybody still talks.
Terrific.
Well, thank you so much, Anna. This has been great. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. And I love
Thank
sheets.
you.
I never used to love sheets, but I bought a good pair of sheets like a long time ago, and I said, what a difference. What a
I
difference.
know.
So I'll go to that website. I'll put my order in. Looking forward
Please
to it.
do.
Thank you,
Thank
Anna.
y'all.
Thanks for listening to Freedom and Glory, Tales of American Spirit. If today's story moved you, share it with someone who'd appreciate it. Subscribe and leave a review. It helps others find us. And when you're ready for American-made flags and products built to last, visit freedomandglory.com. One flag, a million stories, yours included.